All right, this goes along with how I think that Bitcoin is going to advance, or which direction it's going. A lot of people think that Bitcoin is the way it is now is awesome. It's but it's evolving. There's a few things that I see that are not totally together with Bitcoin. One is verifiability. It's the endpoints in Bitcoin. It's not the midpoint. It's not the intermediaries. It's the endpoints that's the issue. Like if you make a transaction, the buyer is at supreme loss if he doesn't know who the seller is, and he doesn't know that the seller is who he says he is. I believe that I believe that Bitcoin was created by the global elites for global trade, and that's their chief aim. With knowing that, I can pretty much guess what the next steps in Bitcoin are going to be. Like if I thought Bitcoin was a real currency that evolved naturally by a guy named Satoshi Nakamoto, I would not even be able to guess what could happen to Bitcoin next. And I probably wouldn't even be evolved. I'd wait for all the bugs to get out of the system before. But I know that it was created by bankers for the purpose as a ledger for global trade. And so the next step in their creation of global trade is verifiable endpoints. Verifiable endpoints. What the hell does that mean? So knowing exactly who the buyer and sellers are. Knowing exactly who the buyer and sellers are. And how do you get that information? Most likely they're gonna be progressing us to give up more of our biometrics information, such as our voice print, fingerprint, face print, eye and retina scan, possibly the DNA. But there has to be, for the global elite, they're going to be wishing to use verifiable endpoints, because global trade cannot occur without verifiable endpoints. And another way, I could think of other ways that you could possibly progress those verifiable endpoints in a less biometrical way. You could probably verify those endpoints through holding your Bitcoins in some kind of exchange, such as Coinbase or Circle, where the exchange knows is verified. It's verified and verifiable, and it does it verifies the people who hold their money in the exchange. And that's how I look at it, that these exchanges, the new banks I call them, are going to be verifiable exchanges that are going to say, hey, you want to do a transaction? Or the only way we'll do transactions with verifiable sellers. And then the sellers will say, well, the only way we're going to do transaction is with verifiable buyers. And that's the direction I see Bitcoin is going, that the endpoints are going to be known. Like everything in the middle, the hacking and all that stuff, that's being weeded out. Now it's just going to be two people that have, that want something, that if the deal doesn't go down like it's supposed to, people need to be able to have recourse. The second part of this is you have to have some kind of international system or international court in case the buyer or seller doesn't perform in a transaction. So I believe that eventually there's going to have to be some kind of international court that is able to rule in either party's favor. And that's the only way you're going to have global trade, and that's what I believe the elite want. So those are the two important factors that nobody's talking about. I've heard people talk about endpoints, but barely. But international courts, I think, is going to be big, where they supersede national courts. Even if somebody knows who somebody is, if you can't sue them or get what you want from them back, then you're still not going to be doing your transactions. So you need verifiable people as well as in some kind of international court in order for it to happen. Do I agree with all this stuff? Not necessarily, but because I think it takes away national sovereignty from systems. Saying international law supersedes national law, I think is BS. So, but I'm telling you the way I think it's going to go anyways.